Welcome to the Accountable Love Podcast, where love means being accountable. My name's Aziz. On this cold day, I'm shooting in front of the planetarium. And today we're going to discuss why we shouldn't be victims in our relationships.
We have this idea of villain and victim implanted in our heads. But when we enter relationships, we should be entering relationships with people who are equally supportive. People that believe in the overall relationship. When you are victimized within your relationship, do not become a victim. Look the person in the face. Tell them where they went wrong. See if you can reconcile or move on. But don't become a victim and bring that mentality to your next relationships because they tarnish your future. All right, enjoy.
Now, we all can be victimized within our relationships. We all can be, mistreated, betrayed, things of that nature within our relationships. And it's important to have the discussion once these things occur. It's important to step up and look at your partner, look at your friend, even look at your children and start having accountable discussions with them. Start having a discussion with them right away. As soon as the transgression occurs, or as soon as you feel you're being taken for granted. But what we tend to do is become victims of our relationships. We're taught in the society we should suck it up. We're taught in the society that we should love unconditionally. Now, if you've seen any of our podcasts in the past, we obviously don't believe in conditional love because we think that's a lower standard of love. Love has conditions. Anything of value has conditions. So you have to have your boundaries. That shows your value. You have to have your do's and don'ts. That shows your value. You have to show people where they can't cross the line because that's when abuse occurs. That's when being taken for granted occurs. That's when you're in relationships by yourself, holding relationships together by yourself because you're so dead set on loving unconditional instead of having conditions within love and upholding the standards of love and holding people accountable while you're in a loving relationship. So don't be a victim of your relationship soon as you're betrayed or soon as you feel you're being taken for granted. We encourage you to speak up. We encourage you to have a discussion. Now, how do you go about having this discussion? Obviously, it depends on what happened. If you're presently in the situation that is dangerous or you're presently in an abusive situation, the first thing you want to do is get out of it. That wouldn't probably be time to have the discussion. That wouldn't be time to communicate because the person's not going to hear you and the person's not going to be as supportive at that time because they obviously the person that is victimizing you. They're the person that is attacking you. They're the person that's abusing you. So when is the time to have the discussion? The time is to have the discussion is when everything's settled down, where you feel you have a willing participant, and now it's time to have the discussion. Now, when having this discussion, don't go in with a victim mentality. What do I mean by a victim mentality? You go in automatically believing that you should just be heard and not listen. You go in with the mentality that this person only did something wrong to me. I didn't do anything wrong to them. Now, things go overboard and things get out of hand when emotions are involved and when we're super heightened by the intensity of any relationship we're in, whether it's a friendship or a romantic partnership. And sometimes we got to have that discussion. So when you go to have the discussion, make sure you go in with a full understanding of where you might have went wrong, whether it's a small reason, a small way you went wrong. The first thing to building any relationship back is being accountable. The first stage of forgiveness is being accountable yourself and then going to hold the other person accountable. So when do we have the discussion? We sit the person down and we explain where we might have went wrong. We take accountability. The next thing we go in, We go in understanding that we're going to hold them accountable. Now, in the example I gave of you being in a dangerous situation or a physical situation, you obviously don't want to have the discussion then. But the person that is putting you in that situation or causing you harm, if they're not deadly or dangerous, because obviously you want to cut all ties, you do have to have the discussion for closure, because you don't want to carry all those feelings and all of those pent-up emotions into your next relationships. So eventually you're going to have the discussion. Don't be a victim of your relationships. Walk up to the person, ask them why did they decide to put their hands on you? Why did they decide to degrade you, treat you poorly? What in them thought it was okay for them to do that? And it's okay to even ask, what did you believe you did? What did they believe you did? Doesn't mean that you did it. It just means you're understanding it from their perspective, so you can get a full understanding of where they went wrong, or where they think they went wrong, or where they think you went wrong. That starts the dialogue. That's saying, now I'm a willing participant. I'm no victim. Though you victimized me, I'm a person that's ready to step up, stand up, and understand where this relationship went wrong, so I don't have the same or go through the same thing in my next relationships. The whole point is healing. The whole point is growing. The whole point is coming together and nurturing your relationships. And to do that, sometimes you do have to walk away. But sometimes you have to stay and have the discussion. Even in bad situations, you have to have them closure discussions so you don't carry some of that baggage over to the next relationship. We all know people who are in new relationships, starting new futures, having good relationships, having good people around them, and they start either running, sabotaging the relationship. They start accusing the person of doing all kinds of things that they didn't do based on their past. Those people didn't get closure. Those people are still the victim of their relationships. We all know people who had tough childhoods, who had traumas happen to them, real heavy traumas happen to them. And you come into their life thinking that you're going to be the positive in their life. And then they turn on you. They start believing that you're negatively affecting them. The relationship becomes all about their trauma. At that moment, though that person did have a trauma, and though you do want to support them because you care about them and because you love them, it's something that they have to figure out on their own. Don't take that as a knock on you. Make sure you explain to them that it's a knock on them, because you're there to be their future. You're there to be the person that's ready to give them a positive life, a positive relationship experience. And the only way to do that is for them to let go of their past pain or their past trauma. And a lot of the healing and a lot of the process of getting over that past trauma is having those closure discussions. And that takes taking a deep breath, reaching out, and getting the closure you need. Because you do not want to destroy your present relationships because of your past trauma. Again, I say, do not be a victim of your relationships. We all know when we're in relationships with somebody and there's a quiet person and there's a much more assertive person, and the assertive person gets the quiet person in all kinds of doors, lets them in all kinds of doors. Their mouth has gotten them into a whole lot of places. At some point, they admired the fact that they was assertive. They admired the fact that they was outgoing. They admired the fact that they was outspoken. And then over time, it becomes an issue because the quiet person feels they're being drowned in the relationship. They're being drowned out in the relationship. Did they know that they actually connected to an A-type personality? Did they not know that they was with somebody that demanded attention, that was the center of attention, that actually was very talkative and expressed themselves whenever they had a thought? That's not the time to start resenting the person for being exactly who they were when you met them. You got to stop being a victim of your relationships. Take accountability. This person you signed on to be in a relationship with. So if you signed on to be in a relationship with this person, understand they're going to be exactly who they are. The only time you should be calling them out is when they're being something they're not, or when they changed on you for the worse, not because they're being exactly who they are. Now, if you don't want to be in a relationship anymore, or who they is not good for you, don't make it their fault. It's on you. They're not for you anymore. You don't want to be with them anymore. You don't want to deal with them anymore. You don't want to have a relationship with them anymore. Be accountable. Understand that that's on you, not them. Let's reverse that. You've ever been with a person that is quiet, never speaks up, never really talks. You ask them a question, they give you one-word answers. They never really dive into their past. They never even dive into they tell you how they feel in the present. And, they semi-talk about the future, but they go with the flow. And then you expect them to start being more verbal. You expect them to start being more talkative. You expect them to start being who they've never been. The reason they got in a relationship with you is because they thought you accepted them for who they were, as they were. The only way this doesn't work is if you told them the only way you're going to be with them in a long-term sense is if they start talking more. They start letting you in more. They start to be more vulnerable. They start to really build a life with you. We all know a closed mouth don't get fed, but closed mouths actually take the ride without you knowing they're there. So if you feel you're carrying a relationship because you joined the one-sided relationship, or you actually joined the relationship with somebody who's not very talkative and not very expressive and really don't express themselves and don't see anything wrong with it, remember you joined that relationship. You're not a victim of your relationship. When you talk to your friends, when you talk to your family, when you're venting, don't make them the problem. Understand that you are the problem because you chose them. You decide to be in that relationship. You decide to have a discussion with them. You decide to sit down at the table with them. You decide to get connected to them, be emotionally involved with them, possibly physically involved with them, form a commitment, actually make plans for the future. All the while never factoring who they are. Never factoring in what your life is going to look like. Never factoring in that they're not going to adjust because they assume that you love them for who they are and who they've shown to be. Don't become a victim of your relationships. You made that choice. We need to sit up and start being accountable for the choices we make. The only way we're going to heal in this life and the only way we're going to have healthy and accountable relationships is sitting down, looking people in the face, understanding who they are, having dialogue, getting to know the person you're getting in relationships with. And at the same time, don't commit until you truly accept them for everything they said they're going to be. And when I say they're going to be, make sure you are forming agreements. Because when you look in the mirror, we do live in a society right now where we're blaming everybody else. We are consistently blaming people for keeping our mouths shut, blaming people for not being everything we wanted them to be. If people are going to get over on you and you're going to accept it, the key word is they got over, yes. You accept it. That's the key word. They passed the buck. They did what they did. They waited for your acceptance. You accepted it. Now it's on you. You passed the buck. This is not somebody who betrayed you, didn't let you in, did something against the relationship. Now you've been victimized. Anybody that's not telling you something but promised to tell you, anybody that gave their word to do something and didn't show up and do it, anybody that said they're going to make adjustments and make changes and didn't make those changes, you have been victimized. Definitely. And I would agree, and I would tell you, if we were having sessions together, I would definitely tell you, you have been victimized. But you're not a victim. Don't live in the state of being a victim, especially not in a relationship you're presently in, and especially in a relationship that you left. Don't be a victim of your relationships, because the only way you're going to have accountable and healthy relationships is to deal with the issues you have and deal with the traumas you have and deal with the problems you have and put yourself in a position to be successful. This is another Accountable Love Podcast. My name's Aziz, and I hope you enjoy.
So remember, you may be victimized, causing you to question yourself, and question your ability to connect with others. But this is your life. You have a decision to make. You become a victim and maintain the trauma, or you can start healing and working towards the future. Your choice.